Good evening. This is the meeting of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 7:01 p.m. and the date is March 8th, 2010. March 9th, 2010. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates. The alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming a voting member in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Present tonight are Greg Lavelle, John Golsey, myself, Michelle Draybold, Betty Hollow, Joan Kronansky, Kate Housley, and Lisa Carson. I am the acting chair. Also present are zoning administrator John Paskey and Secretary Paul Eschenbacher. I don't believe we have any other city folks here tonight. The board operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or the representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or the representative will offer concluding summary or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor shall be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code Section 23.07.03b, the board has power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to Athens City Code Section 23.09.10c, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board finds, based on direct, specific findings of fact, that each of the following conditions has been supported. 1, practical difficulty and undue hardship because of exceptional, extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property. A literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. 2, exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. 3, preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. 4, minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. 5, absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. 6, not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which variance is sought, one or the other or in combination, is not of so general or recurrent in nature as to make reasonably practical the formulation of a general regulation for each condition or situation. Okay, there are 3 cases on tonight's agenda. They are 190-192 East State Street, case number 10-02V, 205 East State Street, case number 10-003V, and 19 South Court Street, case 09-26V. we need to, anyway, let's go into, where's my sheet here? The board is required to take testimony under oath. Would anyone wishing to speak concerning any item on the agenda please stand? Thank you. Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you will present to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. We're ready for our first case. Again, it's 10-02V, 192 East State Street. And Mr. Arbuthnot,
Yes.
Jack Arbuthnot, is the appellant. Okay. Zoning Administrator Paul?
At the end of the last meeting, you asked for additional information concerning how much of the property was in the right-of-way, how many actual legal parking spaces are there, and about temporary use permits, and I sent that to you folks via email. I'll reiterate some of it again. The house was originally an owner-occupied triplex. 192 was the owner's residence, and 190 and 194 were the apartments. In 2007, Mr. Arbuthnot wrote the code office and said that he was no longer going to be using 194 as an apartment. So what was left was the residence at 192, the owner's residence, and the apartment at 190. Now, the code office failed to have him fill out a new rental permit at that time, but he did notify us in writing, and we did adjust the rental fees, so that right now, legally, it is an owner-occupied duplex. That is, an owner's residence with one apartment on it. So what Mr. Arbuthnot is asking for is what he would have needed to ask for anyway, which is to make this a regular duplex, which is that both 190 and 192 could be rental units. And obviously, he does not have the parking there, as I indicated by measuring the right-of-way of Merkel. It's a 40-foot right-of-way for that alley. And that brings the right-of-way within 3 feet of the house, of the corner of the house. So the space in front of the garage is completely taken out of the equation because of that. And for that concrete parking pad there is not room for 2 parking spaces there. If he would get a revocable license from City Council, there would be a space, legally sized space, for 1 car there. If he took out those handful of trees that are right at the corner there, the 2 or 3 trees, there would be adequate legal room to have 2 legal parking spaces with a revocable license. So did you have any questions further from that?
2 additional parking places.
Well, yeah, 2 additional. There's 1 legal one in the garage right now, with or without the right-of-way or revocable license. And if you remember, the interior space of the garage is only 6 inches narrower than what's required to have 2 legal spaces. It would have to be at least 18 feet wide, and it's 17 and a half feet wide. So there would be 1 legal space there, and if under any circumstances it would wind up there would be 2 cars parking in there, that would be no problem with us. It was just we need to have a legal amount of parking spaces there. So that's the 2 variances that the board is considering to allow it to go from an owner-occupied duplex to a regular duplex, and to not have the legal parking, the proper amount of legal parking. Mr. Arbuthnot suggested the possibility, the reason why 5 spaces are needed are you need 2 spaces per unit, and one of the spaces was supposed to, 192, he wanted to have 3 in, so that would be 2, 2, and 1. He suggested changing it from 3 and 1 for the tenants to 2 and 2. Now, technically, that would mean instead of requiring 5 spaces, he would only be required to have 4. But it's the same circumstances as far as the right-of-way and getting a revocable license. He doesn't have room for 4, much less 5. So.
And if he does nothing and lives there, he can rent to how many people? 3 in the apartment and
Well, all that could be rented out right now would be 190,
Yes.
because if it's owner-occupied, then the owner's residence cannot be rented out now legally. That's what he's trying to get the variance for. It's technically an owner's house with an apartment attached to it. What he's trying to do is get it so both places, both sides of the house or both parts of the house can be rented out. Right now, it is approved as an owner-occupied duplex, so he would not require any further parking for that, unless he would want to increase the number of tenants in 190. But it's approved for that right now, and the parking is a legal nonconformity right now.
For clarification, the 190 is currently approved for 3 tenants.
Okay. My question is, if Mr. Arbuthnot were to pursue the revocable license for using the right-of-way, is that something that he would pursue, assuming that we did give him a variance? Would that just simply be a condition that's attached to the variance?
Yes.
Okay.
Keep in mind, too, that a revocable license is not transferable with ownership. So if he did sell the property, the new buyer would have to reapply.
Okay.
So, if I may, I'd like to apologize for me not being here last time. Watching this on video, I saw it was an interesting case, and also would like to apologize for our remiss in missing the fact that it is not a triplex, as I think it was originally presented to you guys. I should say owner-occupied triplex. In 2007, Mr. Arbuthnot did submit a letter to us that took it from an owner-occupied triplex down to an owner-occupied duplex. At that time, the code office was, if it was lesser non-restricting or non-conforming use, it was just granted. We're not doing it that way now. If it is change of occupancy, change of use, whatever it may be, we are going through the proper procedures that it would go through the BZA. So I apologize for that. I also would like to point out that I heard many of you talk about the rental situation. I do want to point out that if he was to sell the home, and he could make it a rental as a single-family residence, if he was willing to drop the duplex status. So to say that it cannot be a rental and somebody could not own it and not be a rental is not true. They would still have to get the revocable license for the parking, but in that case they would only need 3 parking spaces, and obviously he's got 1 now. He would need 2 more on the side that would probably be approved, I would think, because there was no variances requested if he wanted just those other 2 spaces on the side, if he was able to fit them in there. So I heard a lot of people talking during that meeting that they're concerned about the house being a rental and an owner not being in there. And I just want to point out that if he did sell it as a single-family home or to one landlord, that person could turn that house into a 3-person rental, just like you would have in any R1 district.
So that would mean putting 3 people in the main body of the house.
In the whole house, period.
And letting go of the apartment.
Absolutely, right.
Sure. Okay.
So, but he wouldn't require a revocable license for the parking to do that even. So right now, all it can be is a single family or the current license that he has, which is an owner-occupied duplex, or a rental, as I just explained, with the revocable license. So those are pretty much the 3 options there.
But I have a question. Are you inferring that if the property would be sold to someone and they could transfer the rental of 190 to 192?
It would just, they'd lose their rental on 190 if they wish to do so. So there could be 5 bedrooms in that house, but somebody can make it into a 3-bedroom rental.
No, you didn't answer my question.
Okay.
If the property is sold and someone chooses to vacate the 190 or to include it into the 192, you're saying the rental permit from 192, which is specific to 192...
It would be a new application. It would be a whole new application, but it would just be
so it doesn't automatically transfer?
No, it does not automatic.
Okay, they would have to come to the board
No, they wouldn't have to come to the board. If a person wanted to buy the house, just as a 3-bedroom house, and turn it into a rental, that is entirely legal.
In an R1
In an
zone.
R1.
You wouldn't at all want, but you still have to come before you have to...
The only kind of duplex
It wouldn't be a duplex anymore.
Yeah.
It would not be a
Right.
duplex.
The only kind of duplex that would be allowed is an owner-occupied duplex. In other words, the owner would have to live
Right,
in the
exactly.
house
But I
and
just
rent out
thought you were
part of it,
inferring
yeah.
that this permit for this piece of property that includes 190 and 192 could be shifted, and then you would have all this rental.
No.
So, okay, so if it sells, it stays the same unless the owner would request, and then they would have to meet the current code.
Right.
Okay, and the current code would make that very difficult.
As a duplex. Yes, as a single rental in an R1, or no. They would just have to get a revocable license for the 2 parking spaces.
Right.
So it could be a rental. There are many rentals in R1s.
Yep.
And if they have the 3 parking spaces, it is a permissible use. It
Right.
would-
Correct.
And that's all I'm saying. So
Okay.
I think there was a misconception. A lot of people were thinking that place could never become a rental. When listening to people talk, they were concerned about it someday being a rental. And if somebody was to buy it and want to turn it into an R1 rental with 3 parking spaces, they could do so without any, as long as they filled their application out with us. Would not have to come through here. So it'd be a permissible use. Got it?
No, it's not clear. It's not clear.
Can I try to clarify that?
Yeah,
Well,
somebody-
what he's saying is, if it stays an owner-occupied duplex,
Correct.
they don't have to go to council for a revocable license. They don't have to come to you guys. If it's an owner-occupied duplex,
Correct.
that's it.
Okay, well, that was understood.
Any other variation of trying to get it to be a rental would require either coming to you guys or going to council, because if the change of use, they still have to come up with the parking, even if it's a
Correct.
single unit.
Right.
They're going to have to come up with 3 spaces, and the only way you can get 3 legal spaces there is with a revocable license.
Correct.
So that's it.
My understanding, and check me on this now, is if somebody wanted to rent that place, they have a choice of renting the apartment and either leaving the main house vacant, or my son, Skylar, by the way, whom you didn't get to meet last time, who's in town just briefly, or me, living in that house. Or we could give up the apartment and rent the house.
Mr. Arbuthnot, just identify yourself.
I'm Jack Arbuthnot, I'm sorry, and
fine.
you want my address too, I think. It's
That's fine.
12635 Wyatt Run Road, Amesville, Ohio.
Thank you.
Skylar is the co-owner, and 192 is his legal residence.
Skylar, did you want to speak?
Looks like it wants to speak.
I don't think I have anything that,
Up here if you want to.
I don't think I have anything that would particularly clarify anything that you don't already know,
All right.
but I'm here to answer questions if you'd like.
Okay. Jack, anything else you'd like to add tonight?
No, other than, well, yes, a couple of things. I, at suggestion of you folks last week, contacted all members of the city council and the mayor, and I have heard back from 4, and they are all supportive of what we're trying to do, and they have sort of mixed reactions to the whole situation, but they all think this is a grand idea, I think, if I'm reading their comments correctly. And a couple of them addressed the parking issue and said if we want a revocable license, I think their 10-year period or something like that, that they would certainly work to get that through city council if it has to go through city council, and I believe that's correct. I also sent notices as detailed as I could, along with pictures, to the adjoining neighbors, which include the Mitchells, the Lambs, and Will and Ann Chandler, and my daughter, who owns the house on Merkel behind us, but I figured you would discount anything she had to say anyway, because I can twist her arm. But I'll let those folks speak for themselves. I won't try to characterize their reactions, although they're, whatever. But I did try to clarify with them about what we're trying to do, and even gave Susan a tour of the house and so forth. So I've tried to contact everybody. I also contacted the city planner's office, and they were very supportive. But people can speak for themselves. So if you have questions, I'll just sort of take my seat and you can ask me. Okay?
Okay, let's be sure what you're actually asking for tonight.
I did email all of you folks saying that it made more sense to me, to the neighbors, and I think to the code office, because it reduces the number of parking spaces. If we had a permit to rent the main house for a maximum of 2 unrelated persons, and the same for 190, the apartment, a maximum of 2 unrelated persons, that reduces the number of parking spaces required from 5 to 4. And we're almost there. 2 skinny cars could go in that garage, but apparently it's still just 1 legal space. And again, the neighbors can speak to this issue, but it further reduces the likelihood that the main house would, in all likelihood, ever become a student rental if only 2 unrelated people can live there. It's a big house. And I mean, I suppose it could happen, but it would be, I think, pretty expensive, and it would certainly, I think, decrease the attractiveness of any future buyer wanting to buy that house and turn it into a student rental. So I just think it furthers everybody's interest in this case to change our request to 2 plus 2 rather than 3 plus 1. Does that help?
And this is a change from, no, you're staying with what you asked for last month to...
We originally asked for 3 in the main house and reduce 190 from 3 to 1. We'd like to change that to 2 in the main house and 2 in 190.
Any other questions, Mr. Arbuthnot, right now? Okay. All right. Would anybody else like to speak in opposition? And then we'll need to read these, right? We need to mention these.
Yes, you probably should read them.
Yeah, I think I'll have to read them. Here's 2 seconds.
I'm Will Lamb from 196 East State,
Thank you.
and I've moved from opposition to neutral, if we still have the 3 categories we had at our last meeting. I think that for my wife and myself, we're more comfortable with the 2 and 2 that he's proposing tonight, and that seems to be a reasonable change.
Okay.
So that's...
Any questions, Mr. Lamb? Okay, thank you. Anyone else here to speak? We do have 2 letters that came in. I should probably read. This is from Bruce Mitchell. I live across the street from 190, not 192 East State Street, and oppose any change in zoning for this property, either permanent or temporary. Changing the zoning for this property would certainly make it easier to sell and or generate more revenue as a rental, but the current owner knew the zoning laws when he bought the property. Nothing has changed that warrants a special exception for this property. Likewise, I oppose the request to change the parking requirement. That would only make a bad situation worse. And then I have another letter signed by Susan Mitchell.
Another house, I believe, isn't it?
No, there's 2 letters.
From the same, in
Yep.
regards to the same house, from the same
No.
person?
Yes, same house. Please do not change the zoning status of the East Strait home of Dr. Arbuthnot and his son. While I sympathize with his inability to sell the house and the fact his son serves in the armed forces, the status change of the house could dramatically affect the livability of the neighborhood in the long term. The Arbuthnot's deserve great praise for their remodeling effort of 190 East State Street. However, many of us have apartments attached to our homes, allowing the main houses to be duplexed rather than owner-occupied. Could open a floodgate, making our block of East State Street more like the first block of East State Street near Stimson Avenue. Please help us retain the diverse livability of this block by allowing a temporary permit to rent while Dr. Arbuthnot's son is in the Army overseas. The status of the R1 house should not be permanently duplexed. Thank you, Susan Mitchell. Is there anyone here to speak in general comment? Is there anyone here to speak in rebuttal, Mr. Arbuthnot? No?
I think that's a code question. This is a question for code. One of the nearby neighbors of 190, 192 East State Street says, they're not here tonight and they have not commented, but they did mention to me that there was a fear that this could be turned into fraternity house.
You guys would have to approve that.
Yeah, that'd be 6
That's a
feet.
conditional use that the zoning board has the power to oversee. Anybody who wants to start a fraternity or sorority anywhere in town has to come through you guys.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. I'll close the discussion at this point.
I have a quick comment. Since I wasn't here last time and there was some discussion, I was going to ask one of them, either Kay or Lisa, to maybe vote for me tonight.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
I said I wasn't here last time. I didn't hear any of the proceedings, so I will refer my vote to one of those ladies.
Okay.
Well, then in fairness to John, I should also,
Well,
since you have much more background
but
on...
that suggests that you haven't read the material or addressed what's...
Well, I did in the original, but not in the... if the only change is now asking 2 plus 2, as opposed to 3 plus 1,
I don't think that should make any difference.
it
if you
still
read the
equals
material.
4.
Yeah,
I think I can deal with that.
I think so.
Okay. Should we draw straws, Lisa or Kay, or which one?
We decided.
Kay?
I'll vote, yeah.
All right. All right. Let's go through the findings then.
I think you need a motion.
Oh, we do need a motion. I apologize. Who would like to make the motion?
I move to grant in case 10-02V, 192 East State Street, Zone R1. The appellant is requesting a variance from Section 23.04.01 to allow 2 rental units on one lot where 1 rental unit is the maximum allowed, and from Section 23.11, Table B, off-street parking requirements to allow a duplex with a total of 4 tenants with 1 parking space where 5 parking spaces are the minimum required. Now, is that how it stands, or it's different?
We need to amend that. just
You would
a
have to
little
have a variance for the 2 parking spaces in the garage because they're 6 inches too narrow. So grant a variance for that. And then the other 2 would be upon condition of the revocable license being approved.
bit. So we
bad
really
guys.
Well, I
asking...
mean, actually, they have a choice. You can do that, or you can just...
Or leave it the way it is, yes.
Yeah, grant the variance for the way it is, or condition for a revocable license, or just verbatim,
Well,
other than the 4 are
John
required
is the
instead of
person
5.
making the motion, but we do need to say instead of 5 parking spaces, 4.
4.
And I would put in, Greg, the specification that 2 tenants will be in 190 and 2 tenants in 192, because I think that is what is actually being asked for, and we need to be specific about that.
I agree.
Okay. And then how do you want to do the parking?
Well,
garage?
they have to, No, there's only 1 in the garage.
I know, but they're saying that
Legally.
you could have a variance, you're talking about 6 inches. So
We can
you could have a
grant that.
variance for parking 2 in the garage, and if they get permission from the city council, 1 or 2 on the pad. So that's up to you, how you do that.
Well, now, that changes what I was thinking of the whole thing as far as parking goes.
Okay.
If that was in your discussion, as, since John's staying out of it, if you discussed putting 2 in the garage, I would not. So if that's where you're all at,
I don't think we discussed that last week, that
It just came up.
It just came up as a possibility.
Minimal space, but...
Well, they said last week that legally you could have 1 in the garage because
then I would,
it's 6 inches.
I would suggest we
to
keep it
now.
that way.
Okay. Okay. So 1 in the garage and...
1 in the garage, and then they need a
Revocable.
revocable license for 3 more.
Well, no, because they're not going to be able to get 3 more anywhere. You can have a revocable license for
For 2.
2 on a pad, if that's granted, so we can just make that a condition.
Which is not up to us to be able to attain.
No, but you can put it
We
in
put
as a
it in the
condition.
motion.
If they don't get it, then the whole thing
And the whole,
disappears.
okay.
Right.
As long as an irrevocable license is approved for 2 parking spaces,
On pad, okay.
and then he still has to have a variance for 1 extra one on top of that.
No, we'll just have
Granted.
park one on the street.
And we have to give them the variance for that.
To park on the street.
For
No,
2 narrow
just-
cars, maybe.
You're giving him a variance for 3 spaces where 4 is required,
Right,
so.
okay.
Okay, have we got the motion?
Well, I'm glad I started.
Jumped right in there.
You did.
Does that make sense to you? You got that, Paul? Paul's going to write it up.
Well, I'll go through all the conditions here.
Okay.
The conditions that there be 2 tenants in 190 and 2 tenants in 192, and that the appellant get a revocable license for 2 spaces on,
The pad.
yeah, or out on the concrete area, I guess you could say,
Which he'll have to enlarge.
for a total of 3 spaces where 4 is required.
I second that.
Okay.
This case is taking up far too much time.
Yes. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Any discussion?
Well, one of the things that I would say about the area in particular, or maybe I should say the area in this property, in addition to that, a great many of, I would say almost half of the houses on the west side of East State don't have any parking at all. And part of that is because the lots are kind of narrow, and the hill on which they're built is steep. And consequently, that limits the number of parking that's been provided over the years. And as I say, most people, or a lot of people, have no parking at all, so it's on the street. So I think you could count the site as some kind of exceptional circumstance here.
That would pertain to the parking only, though, correct?
Well, yes.
Okay. And since we've lumped them both
okay.
together,
And I think, too, I don't know how many properties in this area have specifically written into their permits that it has to be an owner-occupied residence. Is
It's
that
not
typical?
specified particularly, but for instance, the Mitchells,
Right.
they have technically an owner-occupied duplex. They have their house, and then they have a rental on their property back behind them.
Sure.
If the Mitchells decide they want to rent the main house, they'd have to go through the same thing. They'd have to get variances because it's R1.
Okay, all right.
So anybody who wanted to have more than one rental unit would...
Okay,
no, that's not an
Okay.
exception.
But I think the site location,
has to do with the parking, certainly, and part of his request is dependent on the parking, so...
But I don't think that practical difficulty and undue hardship have anything to do with converting an R1 owner-occupied dwelling into a rental in an R1 neighborhood. The only hardship that I really see is economic, and that's nothing that the board as a whole is supposed to be considering. And a lot of people are having economic difficulty these days in terms of renting houses.
Well-
And we could have many of them coming here then requesting to be, because they cannot sell it, a specific piece of property as...
an undue hardship.
Exactly, and I just don't think that as this should go
I think
forward.
one of the things that makes it a little bit different is if they were asking me if they had a single house and could they duplex it, I would say absolutely no. Here is an existing duplex, and they're asking to make a different use of it.
Oh, but I think the use that they're asking is far greater than just a different use. I think it's reverting a residential home in an R1 neighborhood to a full rental property with 2 rental units.
Okay.
So I guess I do not think practical difficulty and undue hardship in terms of conversion.
Well, we disagree on that, so.
Okay, anyone else on this section? Should we move on?
Yeah. let's move on.
Exceptional circumstances.
Well, again,
So
in terms of
again-
the parking, I'm talking about the site and in general and specifically to this property. It's hard to have any parking at all.
And likewise, I would say, since we've heard that there are other places that have rentals that are not utilizing them, that we can't say that this is particularly exceptional circumstance.
Well, I'm talking about the terrain in the area. Okay. Hayden?
I think when you also look at intended use of the property, there are other properties in the area that are used as to what the appellant is asking for, the applicant.
Yeah.
So it,
There are,
Yes.
well, up towards the other end of the street, but
No, right in the middle of the street.
there are other duplexes. Okay. Any other comments on that section? Preservation of equal property rights. So we're looking at depriving the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone in the same vicinity.
Potentially, I think. I mean, you have a letter from the neighbors saying that they're disapproving, but they're disapproving what they're already doing there on their property.
no, they're not renting anything, though.
Oh, yes.
They are renting.
The
I thought we
Mitchells.
just said
The
that they...
Mitchells have a rental.
They have a rental,
in
they're
their
a
backyard.
duplex.
It's much bigger.
They're owner-occupied, but they're
They have a
still
duplex
renting,
in their
whereas
Right, so it's the same.
it could easily turn into, if sold, to a 3-person rental, regardless of ever having to come before us to do so.
No, they would have to in their owner-occupied section.
No, not if they have the parking.
No. He explained to us that if the house sold, it could occupy 3 unrelated people as a rental, period.
It can.
With the permit.
No, with nothing.
No.
You don't need
That's what I was trying to get John to clarify for me.
That's the R1. That's what happens in any R1 property if they have the parking.
Yeah, it's a matter of parking is one of the biggest.
So I was going to say, keep that in mind, because he's asking for 4, and he could do it without asking us for 3. So he's just asking for 1 more person in there.
Well, no, right now he only really has 1 parking, so part of all of
Well, I know,
this-
there's parking involved, yes.
Also, right.
It's the issue, but
Right.
ultimately, it's 1 more, plus the parking issue. So I would say that to not, in a sense, not to grant this would be not offering him equal property rights as others enjoy in the neighborhood. Now, if it were 5 or 6 people, then I would disagree, but...
Well, unfortunately, code can't regulate that very well.
Okay, any other comments? This section? Okay, let's move on to minimum variance. Variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property.
I believe so, because he's reduced it from 5, was it, originally? To now
Yes.
4.
And he's allowing the specifics of the variance to specify how many people are going to live in each unit, and it's certainly a minimal number.
And potentially, you can fit 4 cars in there, and 2
right.
small in the garage, only 6 inches we are talking about,
Right.
reducing it by 1.
Having walked that site many times, and not many people are going to want to go in and out of the garage, and the street is very bumpy there, Merkel, but it's possible it's there to use. Okay, absence of detriment. Authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest.
Oh, definitely public interest. I don't know what kind of neighborhoods most of the board members live in, but...
I live in this one.
Oh, what street do you live on?
I live on Maplewood, so...
Well, that's quite a ways around the corner.
It's just around the corner, and I consider it my neighborhood because it is my neighborhood. It's the area in which we drive, in which we walk, in which we know people. And I know that Mr. Lamb has spoken when he thought that there might be the possibility of too many rowdy people in these apartments. I think he says he's now neutral. The Mitchells have spoken against it, but we've already pointed out that they themselves have more rentals in the backyard than this one would ever have.
So that should void out their comments?
No, it doesn't void their comments,
Oh,
but
I'm
it
just
does
checking.
qualify them to some extent. Okay, so I live in the neighborhood. I'm very concerned about the neighborhood. I don't want any more rentals in the neighborhood than we have to have, particularly if they're student rentals. But rentals are allowed in an R1 district. There's nothing that says you can't rent anything in an R1 district. We're just trying to control the number of people who are in a particular rental. And I think the Arbuthnot's in this case have tried, first of all, to sell the house for a very long time. And now it seems to me that they have worked as hard as they can to get some reasonable concessions to the spirit of the code and to our votes on this. So I don't really see it as detrimental to the neighborhood, and it is my neighborhood.
I would add to that, in terms of the density issues, that they have reduced the density of the property over their
Almost
improving.
definitely at the present, because they only have the apartment rented
Right.
out, and there's nobody living in the front. So
Right. But
right now you feel the comfort of that, but part of the issue that I see, particularly in our neighborhood, we have some rentals that are geared for 2 people, and that's what they're coded for, and some that are have enough space for 3, and in most cases there are 3, 4, or 5 people in those places. So I think it's very difficult when you start saying this is a 2 and this is a 2, and
Who's going to enforce or monitor
exactly.
that?
It's going to be very difficult to do because you have to give them 24 hours notice before you go into a place and they clean it up.
That's true in every rental in the city.
That is
Everyone.
exactly correct. That's why I would like to see, and I think Mr. Lamb stated that in his,
Now he's neutral, remember.
well, I know, but he still made these, some comments about...
And Betty will take nightly walks and make sure everything's okay.
Oh, Betty will?
Yes.
Right.
Let's move on.
And then she'll move out.
Okay, let's move on to the next section.
Okay.
Not of a general nature.
It isn't.
Thank goodness.
Yes, thank goodness to be on.
Oh, but
Please.
Are we ready to take a vote?
Yeah, finally, let's do
Okay,
that.
Greg, I'm going to start with you, and we'll work our way down.
I vote
okay?
yes.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
I vote no.
Yes.
Okay, that's
carried.
finally the end of that.
I'm still need that revocable license.
What's last? Okay. Should we re-vote? Ready for the next case? This is case number 09-26V, 19 South Court Street, Zone B, 2D. David Cole is the appellant. Would you like to speak on this, Mr. Eschenbacher?
If you remember, Mr. Full came before the board before. He has a building at 19 South Court that currently has 1 apartment. He wants to put 2 apartments in there. Of course, he has to meet parking regulations, and the last time he came before you, he had a formula of leasing 4 spaces over at the church parking lot next to the police station, and then using 2 spaces on his own property across the street at 14 and 18 South Court. He's changed his request that same number of apartments, same number of tenants, but he wants to lease or meet the parking requirements by leasing all 6 spaces from the church parking lot. In the paperwork you have, they have leases there for all 6 spaces. Now, that little guide that they gave you that lists the parking lot numbers and the names of the people who have those is not up to date because according to the leases, Mr. Full does have 6 spaces, but space number 17, they have the name Rita there, and he has an up-to-date lease for that space. So he has leases for 6 spaces at the church parking lot currently.
And the church parking lot is leased to the city, which then leases those parking spaces out.
Yeah. And in case you're wondering if there's some future fallout between church and state, then the variance is void. Well, it could be void. It depends on how you phrase the motion for the variance. Well, I think last time you specified it had to be that church parking lot. If that's still the same condition for that, then the variance is void if he cannot continue to rent those spaces. If you just said he needs to get 6 leased parking spaces within 510 feet, then he's got that circumference around those apartments to work to see if he can get other parking. So that's entirely up to you guys if you want to specify down to the parking lot or if you just want to specify distance.
Paul, the 2 spaces that he said that he had on his property, are those in fact available, or do you not know?
I don't know. We went around looking at the design of the parking lot itself, and it looked like the 2 spaces didn't have proper access. I don't know if they're available or not now. You could probably ask the appellant's representative about that. But as far as I know, it was difficulty in getting to the spaces that was the drawback of that plan. So again, I don't know if they're available, open or free or not, but the fact that it was difficult to get to them, even if they were available. So I don't know if they're available or not.
We're talking about the 2 behind his building,
The
off
2
the
behind the
alley.
building, yeah.
There's an alley there.
Yeah, but there was some questions about the size and the layout of that parking lot back there when originally proposed, and I think Mr. Valentour's drawn up a plan that shows that they can fit, but Mr. Full decided instead of even messing with it, just getting the 6 spaces elsewhere.
Okay, any more questions for code at this point?
So I guess, I do have a quick question, because this has happened before. So if he's going to lease 6 spaces, does the possibility exist, or is it happening right now that he's leased out those 2 spaces to someone else? On his own property?
Oh. It's always a possibility.
Okay, I guess we'll ask.
But that parking lot doesn't go with 19 South Court. That parking lot is for 14 and 18 South Court.
Where the 2 spots are located? Okay.
So those weren't even dedicated to 19 South Court to begin with.
But in the same ownership?
Yes.
Entitled to the same person? Okay.
Deed restricted.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready for the appellant's representative.
Good evening, John Valentour, RVC Architects, and I think Paul explained everything and John accurately, that the request tonight is for 6 leased parking spots and none on the site that we originally proposed. And like I think both of them indicated, access and legal-sized parking spots were not capable of being created on the lot that was originally intended. And as far as deciding whether or not these spaces or this variance is specifically dependent on leasing those parking spots from the city at that specific lot, I don't think that that's a concern from the other standpoint in here, if that's what you want to put in as a recommendation. I would appreciate, and I don't really, if you have any questions for me this time?
So Mr. Full has no own parking spots of his own in that vicinity?
Not at that building.
He does.
Not that building, but in that vicinity that he could use?
Rental units that he has at 14 and 18 South Court Street require 12 spaces, and that's how many he's claimed at that back parking lot.
Including those two that won't fit cars?
Well, I mean, there was a back and forth about whether two more could be created there.
I'm not going to argue that anymore.
Yeah, the original parking lot has 12 spaces. It has 12 spaces now.
Yeah.
There was a possibility, they were discussing the possibility of redesigning it in order to get two more in there. But that was where the doubts or the concern about access to those two new spaces came up. But he has 12 spaces there. They're dedicated to 14 or 18. If you're asking me if he's renting any out that belong to 14 or 18, I don't know. We don't have any
No,
way
I
to
just
check
wanted
that
to
unless
know if
somebody
he's
comes to
got
us.
extra parking spaces
It does.
sitting around on his property within this area.
Not that we could actually go and just go to the code office and say, okay, you're approved. They do not exist.
Okay.
I do have another question regarding the first floor of 19 South Court Street. The renovation on the second floor, will it affect anything that
Yes.
is, any activity that's going on the first floor?
Absolutely, it's going to affect as you know, there's a nightclub on the first floor, and I think that they've also migrated to the lower level. All that will be fully sprinkled with a approved system by the state of Ohio, which right now it is not. The entire building will have to be brought up to code for this
So you're
renovation.
saying that even the first floor is rented with a business, and they're staying while you're doing the renovation and moving?
Upstairs, yes. The renovations upstairs, the way it's laid out, it will be very simple, actually, to do. There's almost the exact number of rooms already created. We have to incorporate a couple bathrooms, or enlarge one at least, to create a four-bedroom apartment in that location. It should not affect the business below, except for maybe some plumbing drops that can be done after hours.
There's a bank below.
No,
A bank? No?
that's Revolution.
Oh, it's the, yes, I'm sorry.
But that's always been a concern. If you could talk to Chief Coxwell years ago, that whole facility was questionably approved or occupied, but the one thing this project will do will improve the safety of that entire facility by at least putting in a fully automatic sprinkler system. In the whole
No other renovations will take place on the first floor?
No. I already did that a few years ago, but no more at this time. Now, if you would, after you guys render a decision here, if I could just come back for 1 second and just go over some little thing, I'd appreciate that.
You don't want to do that now?
No, I don't want to.
So you want to come in at the end after we...
After you've rendered your decision, I'd just like to speak 1 second more. It won't
Does
take
that
much.
mean you're going to say something mean if we say no?
I'm not going to say anything mean.
Well, I'm wondering procedurally if we can do that.
We're going to say no, so then.
You're going to say no?
Yeah, procedure...
Just to hear what you have to say.
No, procedurally, I think it would be better to be said now before we...
I don't want to affect,
He's
or,
got-
I wanted to pass out some information, some literature on parking. That's all.
Okay, so...
That would, and I laid out the parking lot that you were concerned with, or considering, on the back of that lot to get the 14 spots.
Would this information in any way
No,
help
it would not
our...
affect...
So this is a
just
general
purely for
nature...
your reference, and it
All
might
right.
not even be appropriate to give it to you as the Board of Zoning
Okay.
Appeals. It should go to City Council in terms of determining the size of required parking spots. And a lot of cities have gone through this, obviously, and one thing that comes to their attention a lot in other places is trying to minimize the amount of asphalt
cement.
by categorizing parking in terms of different types or uses. Long-term parking versus short-term parking versus lots of different ones. And they've come up with conclusions and recommended modifications to parking requirements in a lot of other cities. We don't conform to that here in Athens. We have one parking lot spot size,
Okay.
180 square feet. And
So you
I just
want-
wanted to
You want
pass
to
it out
share that with
I mean, you guys look
Do you
at
wanna
it, no,
see
it
it?
doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, ultimately, that would be a city council concern.
But some people
Not ours.
come in here and ask for
Well, no,
variances on the size.
tonight we have the small car, and you're for the big SUV. You say that time and time again, you know? Students don't drive small cars anymore, they drive big SUVs, and I need this kind of space for the parking garage that I'm putting underneath as a rental unit I'm building.
And, you know, in the same breath, you're saying, well, now they're going to say we can get more kids in, we can get another spot. You know, I mean, but a lot of times it's done for this purpose of green space and trying to create a more pleasant urban environment by reducing the amount of asphalt that is necessary to accommodate the activities that are going in a metropolitan area. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Valentor.
And as I've told you guys many a times, we're looking at this in depth. Paul Logue's having a study done. I've spoke with the mayor about it in lieu of parking and where this can go. I don't know where we're at. It's got a ways to go, but it is something we are looking into. So.
Okay, is there anyone here to make general comment? Is there anybody here to rebuttal? Okay.
Opposition?
Opposition? Is that right? Opposition?
Everybody.
Okay, we'll close the floor at this point. Okay, so we need a motion.
Okay. I move that the board consider case number 0926V, 19 South Court Street, property of David F. Full, who is requesting a variance from Section 230801D to allow the change of use of a building from one rental unit with 2 tenants to 2 rental units with 6 tenants, to have 0 on-site parking spaces and 6 leased parking spaces within 500 feet of the property, where 6 on-site parking spaces or 6 deed-restricted parking spaces in same ownership and within 250 feet of the property are the minimum requirements.
May I make one suggestion? Could we have it 510, because that's the distance to the parking lot? 500 would actually be a couple feet short.
Or doesn't it say 510? Did I not read it that way?
You just said 500.
Oh, it's 510, which
Okay.
is what it reads.
Okay.
And do we want to specify
Yes,
or not?
I think that,
I don't think we should specify, just as long as it's 510 feet from the property, that should cover it, as long as they can get the lease for
as
it.
long as they can have the lease.
Lease, yeah.
Well,
Because,
they'll have to, I mean, anybody who gets a variance for leased parking has to provide us annually with the leases. So it's up to you guys to whether you think he can only have those spaces in the church parking lot or something within 510 feet. That's for you guys to decide.
I would suggest that...
That we do it as it's read.
Yeah, I would.
Anybody want to
Yeah.
make another comment?
That seems fine.
Okay,
Okay,
second.
do we have a second? Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, let's go to the findings. For case 0926B, practical difficulty and undue hardship.
Well, I feel that, he's creating it himself by wanting to triple the tenants, thus, making the parking for himself a hardship. If it was left as it is, we wouldn't have to deal with it.
Well, originally it was an office and an apartment, and then the office moved out. I think that was his office. I don't know. It was a legal office on the second floor and an apartment,
That's correct.
and the legal office moved out.
So it's just empty.
And I think it needs to be renovated.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Exceptional circumstances.
It's in an uptown area with very little or no parking available at all, which is ultimately not usually, it's not that exceptional to most towns that have uptowns that they're full.
Well, so it's exceptional and at the same time general, because it does
True.
apply.
preservation of equal property rights. There's certainly a lot of second floor and third floor and fourth floor rental units in the area.
And the ones that have come before us, we've really tried to make them be as close as possible within that 250 feet.
Hasn't always been possible, though,
It
has
hasn't
it?
always been possible because of the parking situation, but we've tried.
Minimum variance.
Well, the ones we heard before, I guess, was within 500 feet also. So I would say with that regard might be minimal.
Absence of detriment. Where he's in an unused space at this point, or maybe difficult to utilize at this point in the way that it's,
Well, actually, if you're going to
condition
put
that
in a
it's in.
sprinkler system on the first floor, I would think that it
would improve.
definitely improve.
Not of a general nature.
Going to be filled up soon, and it won't be.
It'll
General
be
nature
filled up.
issue.
Yeah, it'll be filled before it's finished, completed.
No, I mean uptown space
Oh, I see.
at all. Ultimately, we'll never have to deal with it. It'll be all full.
Maybe it already is all full.
No, people are squeezing them in, obviously.
Or renting them twice,
Well, we know these are not rented twice, right?
presumably.
We know that
No,
on
that's,
that. And we know it on a lot of the other ones.
I'm
That's why we're
second
keeping-
guessing them on everyone now, right, today.
I don't write the city parking things, but
All
I
right.
would hope not. Let's put it that way.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote. Let's clarify who's voting. Mr. Golsey, are you going to
I'm
vote?
voting, yeah.
Okay, so it'll be the 5 regular members here, and I will vote last since I'm the chair. So let's start with Joan.
Yes.
Betty?
I guess I'll vote yes, reluctantly.
I'll vote no.
I vote no.
I voted no last time. I haven't voted yet. Still thinking.
See how fun it is to go last?
I'll vote yes. Variance is granted. Would you like to say one more thing on parking, Mr. Valencourt?
I want to know if you have a permit to leaflet in the building. The question is.
I just showed that drawing there because it can be done. I can get those spots back there, but they don't need city.
Sure, well, ingress does count, doesn't it?
Okay, let's hear case number 3. This is, let me read, case number 10-03V 20205 East State Street. This is an R1 zone. Mr. and Mrs. McMillan and Richard Schultz, appellants. Okay.
Okay, I don't have much to add to the information you already have before you. They want to move the house back that's next to their own house, the house at 205. They want to move it back, and the method they want to do it, it'll wind up being connected or attached to the garage, existing garage at the back of the property. The garage has no rear setback whatsoever. However, obviously, as you can tell at the back edge of the property, it does not abut another lot, but it abuts a street.
Right.
So That's why they had to come before the board there, because the idea of moving the house would not fit in with the rear and side setback bulk controls.
Questions for code?
Is the house presently rented?
Go ahead, Alan.
Yes.
Okay, hold, let's just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know you're Mr. McMillan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. McMillan, can you identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Alan McMillan, live at 209 East State Street.
Okay.
I was letting Alan answer that question.
It's rented.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for zoning at this point, or the code office, excuse me?
I just want to make sure that accessory buildings are not livable, so people can't live in it. Is it still correct?
Yes, I mean, I haven't personally examined the garage, but I assume it's...
No, I mean, if this house becomes an accessory building in future, for some reason,
I don't...
if they put another house in it, in the front, and say this is going to be the accessory building, that cannot be rented, or anyone can't live on it.
Probably ask Mr. McMillan specifically.
I guess I saw something, yeah.
I'd be glad to
Put a
go through
condition
all
on
of that in
it.
our long-range intentions as well.
Okay. When you say the garage, you're talking about the garage that currently sits behind the house that's going to be moved, not
Yes.
the garage that sits behind the main house.
That's correct.
Terry's, this is a totally different piece of property.
Right, right, okay. And in your understanding as well, Paul, did I understand you to say the house that is to be moved will not attach itself to the main house?
That's correct.
They're currently two separate properties.
Right.
Yeah, I think we'll treat this as
I'm
its own.
familiar with the property, I know, okay, all right. Okay, any other questions for Paul or John? All right, Mr. McMillan, thanks.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to come before the board. First off, to give you some background of our approach, my wife and I and our two small boys are relatively new to Athens in less than 3 years. We feel blessed that we had the opportunity to buy 209 East State Street. Actually, we inquired about it, and it wasn't on the market, and things happened, and we are thrilled. And then we were equally as thrilled. A few years ago, the owner's brother lived in the house, and we thought he would be our neighbor forever. And then, much to our chagrin, he said he was going to move out of the area. So we contacted the owner, and they had lived in the house since childhood. And we made arrangements and we purchased the house. Originally, we were going to not rent it, and the price of the house necessitated, at least for the near future, that we would rent the house. But we feel blessed that all of a sudden we joined the block, and we got all that together. And the whole approach to how we're doing this, and I think actions speak louder than words, is we feel that Mr. and Mrs. Janot, in 1910, 100 years ago, built a jewel for the community. And it's historic, and it's actually, a piece of eye candy as you come down East State Street. We have a responsibility and stewardship. The way we look at it is to say, how's it going to look 100 years from today? And one of the things you noticed over the summer when we approached our house, and I only say this by evidence of what we're going to do with this property, we completely restored the exterior of the building. We went ahead and we had the rotted boards on it, that deteriorated over time, milled perfectly with exact, to really do it, because we said, hey, someone's going to judge us in 100 years from now. And so we painstakingly, I think people thought we were maybe over the top on taking it down, but that was the only way to get it, to the near move-in condition to when the Genots moved in. So we will acknowledge that this clearly violates the code. But we're trying to do this in a thoughtful and loving way, and a few slides to show you through. In the process of doing this, I thought that somebody had put this home in after the Genots built the home. Now, I'm not sure, and I'm just putting all the facts on the table. This may work against us. But I think the Genote's home was built in 1910. I believe this home that we're asking to move back was built in 1908. Because we had a local person give us some information, and actually it was someone who graduated from the College of Osteopathic Medicine 102 years ago, bought the lot for $200 and spent a whopping $1,400 to build the house. And families have lived in it forever, and we're the fourth family to live in our house. So what I'd like to do is just try to say succinctly what we want to do and show you why we want to do it, and then I guess we leave it up if you have any questions. And I think that one thing is this is a unique property because it represents a whole block, and we're desperately trying to save the home we're talking about. We think that it represents 102 years of history, and we want it to be here 100 years from now as well. So if we go ahead and if you take a look, the house, you can see the dotted line. The dotted line shows where the current house is, and then you can see it moves back. And if you want handouts, I've got this so I can give you PowerPoints on this. But we want to move the house back, touch the garage, and over time that will become the pool house on our current property. And once we do that, and actually the part in the back is the swimming pool that we finished it last year, and that actually was originally with the home. But about 65, 70 years ago, when Mr. Silvis bought it, they lived up on Franklin, and he bought it as a rent property. And when his wife came down and saw it, she said, "This is great. I like it better than my home. Let's move here." And she pointed out back where the pool is and said, "That'd be a great place for the kids to play." But the day before, Mr. Silvis thought he was going to rent it, and Mr. Gill, who lived in our home, had purchased the back end of the property where it became part of ours. So when we say that there's not 30 feet to the property behind it, that's our property behind it. Okay, and I can tell you we have no intention of ever breaking up this property. So that's what we want to do. Now, this is funny because I was going to come see you a month ago, and a couple days before I did this, so what a difference a month makes, right? So with the snow. But this is if you come down from 33, and there's a beautiful view of the home, and I can tell you all of our windows, and these are beautiful leaded glass windows, the light shines in, it's really, really beautiful. And that's our carriage house behind that. Which, by the way, when we bought the house, was an illegal rental, and we immediately conformed with code. And I think you can ask our reputation. We don't do anything outside of code. We have some real estate interests in town. Okay, now you come down from uptown, and the house is cloaked by this home. And we think it robs some of the grandeur of the home. Plus, it blocks a lot of light going into our house. And this would be the side of the house that would be revealed if you were to go ahead and allow us to move it back. And it's quite amazing. So this is if you come down, east straight from uptown, this is about what you see. And by moving it back, this is what would be exposed to the home. Plus, the bay window there is our dining room. So we would actually be able to see out, and light would come in. And as you go through the houses together, this is where they sit. And by the way, I'll say something too. Those shingles on the house were popular in the 40s. They call them asbestos shingles. We've done research into it now. They're really made out of concrete with a little bit of asbestos in it. And the design work and the colors and everything we did at 209, we used a guy named Eric Kremvek out of the Bay Area because he specialized in period architecture. He said there's a Victorian under that. And we actually had some Victorian detail. And we've removed some of it, and it's lateral siding, and we want to bring it back with the same condition of our house. So if we move in close, you're going to see how it's right on top of it. It's little under 8 feet away from our house. Actually, if you guys had been here then, this never would have happened because no one would have allowed to build on this addition. You can see that top bedroom was an addition, and there's a bathroom downstairs that was built on. as well, which added to the, crowded appearance. So, what we want to do is move it back in a thoughtful way. We'd like to paint it in a complementary way. We'll bring it back to its Victorian roots, and over time, we want to make it a part of our house, which would be a pool home, and then extra bedrooms. And over time, we have no intention of renting it. I even looked at one point to try to get this through. Well, what if I combined it? What if I combine the lots? And then this is the second time I've dealt with this since I've been in town, the "you're going to die" clause. It's that basically, one day you might die, and when you die, first you'd have two houses, and you could have two houses on the same lot. So then I said, well, I'll remove the kitchen. So it'd be an accessory structure. Well, one day you might die, and then somebody would put the kitchen back in, and then you would have two houses. So then we thought about it, and actually this way I prefer having a second house, because for the near term, not the long term, I can rent it, and we prefer to rent to families. You can't advertise like that, but we advertise for that, but you'd rent it to anybody in fairness, and we have a nice family in there now that's actually going to be in there for another year and a half, go to graduate school. So that's where we are. I try to frame it up as best and succinctly as I can, and I guess if you have any questions, or is that...
It looks like you're taking off part of the structure when you would move it back.
Yeah. We looked at removing here. I guess I don't have a picture of that side. They built on to the back of the house to accommodate a larger kitchen, and we would go ahead and move that off. And that was to try to come up with something that was not as close to the back end of the lot as well. And then we have enough of the tiles that we could match it now, and then as budgets permit, we would, remove it to the original horizontal wood siding.
Okay.
So your whole purpose is to...
I think it's this, he says this here is the way I'm reading it, but that's...
Open up the view in and out of your current residence?
Lighten view, and to also, we think that the view to the community on East State Street would be enhanced.
That's what I mean,
Oh, yeah. Well put, then. You're absolutely right. Because it's as you go through this, if you're coming from this direction, it's just, you miss it, and it's a beautiful home. And I'll tell you something, and equally, I think this is a beautiful home, and what we want to reveal is what did it look like, and then respect how it was built in 1908. And that's what we're committed to doing.
So, Mr. McMillan, would you mind coming up and showing us the part here on the drawing of what's going to be removed?
Oh, sure.
Well, we've got this, so that's fine.
So what happens is you see...
Right.
Well, actually, the existing house sticks. I see this dotted line? This sticks out now.
Okay.
So it's just going to peel it off. The kitchen becomes the original size, and then it's flush.
Okay. So it's this part, basically, here we're talking about.
This square right there.
Yeah, rectangle. Okay. And then you also looks like you're moving it away from your house a bit, or is that just the drawing?
Yeah, we would be. We would be. And the setback, unless I'm wrong, to Maplewood is not where we conform to that, even moving it where we are. And what we would do is we wanted to keep this garage, so we would move it over here. And we didn't realize when we proposed this that all of a sudden, once you touch, if we had gone back and done it over again, but the paperwork was already in motion, if it didn't touch, there'd be no problem, I believe, with this garage. But once we said it would touch, and to be honest with you, I could put a gate there as easy as I could.
So why keep the garage?
Well, it's a beautiful garage, and it's got we keep a spare car in it.
Okay.
And then also you got we got a little, I don't know if you, on East State Street, we have a little vehicle that does the snow. We put it in. It's underneath the carriage house now, but eventually put it there.
Okay, folks, questions? Mr. McMillan?
Yeah, what's the use of the carriage house at the moment?
The carriage house underneath is a woodworking shop, and we were fortunate enough to find the gentleman that lived in this house was a furniture restorer, and we bought his woodworking equipment. And as I go into retirement, try as I might, I'm trying to get out of technology. And when I do retire, I want to, do woodworking. One of the things he promised to teach me how to use all this stuff, and then he moved away. So, so I'll do that. Upstairs is a one-bedroom apartment that occasionally, if we have an overnight guest, would stay there. My mom comes, that's where she stays, and I have my office up there. And when I am in town, it's just my home office. It's lovely though. It's like a little old hunting lodge upstairs.
Okay.
I guess I wonder what a pool house is, and are you looking to house guests also there, or just kind of track in the water from the pool? And
well, right now, what happens is if, and our kids will get older, obviously, but it's they're young, and when you run into somebody who wants to use the bathroom or something, we don't have any bathroom in the basement, so they run up through the house. And what we would do is they over time, they would go into there, probably have somewhere where we can make snacks and hors d'oeuvres and that kind of stuff, and actually envision having some flat screen TVs and be able to play multiple football games or basketball games, simultaneously, and just make it a big, funly, family area. There's 3 bedrooms upstairs, and we'd leave them for guests. Never, once we do that, there's no rental. And again, we just did that on the near term. But it's kind of like just a cabana house, a pool house downstairs, and upstairs just happens to have 3 bedrooms. We had always thought that maybe we could build a cabana house there, but then we said we don't want to lose a house that we think is significant to 102 years old in the area. So we're trying to save the house.
You mentioned that you have a lease currently for another year or so, or whatever.
A little better than a year.
So you're probably not going to be going forward with these.
This is the amazing thing about moving a house.
Don't tell me the people can be in it and it can move.
No, they're not in it when it physically moves, okay? But actually,
that could be fun.
They leave for the summer, but they told us you don't have to take anything off a table or anything. What they do is they pick it up. That's correct. They bring it over to where you are, because I thought they measure it and they build a foundation, they put it on top of. Oh no. They pick it up, they move it over to where it's going to be, and then they pull plumb lines down, and they build the foundation underneath exactly on the house, and then they drop it down. And the house would actually sit a little lower because the property contours down. I think it's about 6 feet, 7 feet.
It's a rental.
Yeah, and so it would come down. So the way we envision it from this side, you'd see the 209 East State Street, and you would also see this beautiful cottage, that's complimentary done, right down to the paint. And it would be, I think it'd be beautiful. And if it sounds like we've really put our heart and soul into this and tried to done a good job. I will say this too, with actions speak louder than words. We do own rentals. I think some of you know that. We have committed now. We've learned good lessons and bad lessons being in town. We will not reside a house. We don't want to lose another one. The West End Tavern, we're redoing the bricks, a lot of old maintenance. So we're trying to be in the spirit of preserving the community and making it nicer one house at a time.
Okay.
I understand that this will make your 209 more visible, but I'm wondering if 205 will simply recede into the background, or whether it will look as if there's a discontinuity in the visual line of the houses as they come down the street, because typically houses are sited pretty much in a line with each other to maintain some kind of continuity. Is that a concern? Do you think that's going to look odd?
Well, I think what you're saying is valid, as you phrase it like that. I think What it would do, though, if you take a look at the plot plan, if you will, I think it would be more pleasing, view in, and we would do it in a complementary, a nice way. But you're right, it wouldn't look like it's right up along the front, because as you were doing this, I was going down the street, yeah, like everybody is kind of like in the same front wall is lines up. But it does prevail itself because it's a unique property in that it's a block.
Every lot is a block, so...
No, but I mean, I've got streets around every side, 2 of them brick streets. So Maplewood, Lloyd, Sunnyside, and East State.
Okay.
So it's
Not a city block, but it's your block.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's residential island. I don't, it's done, and 2 of them are brick lined, which we love. And then there was some supporting information in the back, and I can just pass these out to get it. But the people who are most across, we've had the Nessicks, who have that beautiful white home with the pillars across the street. Be informed that we have been briefed on the project pertaining to 205 East State Street. We are the neighbors that live in the house across the street with the address of 204 East State. Therefore, we look down on the entire property in the manner we are impressed with the progress made to date and have no objection to moving the small gray house at 205 Street back towards the pool. In fact, we prefer it to the current view, and in that the way we support the entire project. And then the other, there's a couple other relevant ones. Probably the most significant one as far as proximity, right next door, Mr. Rinaldi. John is at 187 East State. I have been briefed on the project proposed by my neighbor, Alan McMillan. I would like to state that I am impressed with the progress to date and have no objection to moving the house at 205 East Straight back towards the pool. In fact, I prefer it to the current view. In my opinion, all improvements to the property have been done in good taste. I support the project fully. And then, and I'll turn these in, but Mary Strother down on Sunnyside, who restored their home, was on the historic tour. Compliments, and Susan Mitchell, I think, dropped off a letter.
Right, I'll read that later.
And it's also there's another one in here. I don't know if it's the same or not. And what we've done is, because everything we've done with the property, we've gone around and involved the neighbors. We've spoken at the NENA meeting, and I've talked to the contiguous neighbors and told the one I haven't had one, piece of objection. So we've tried to involve the community.
Okay. Any more questions? All right. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want me to turn in, since I read those, that you... Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Does everybody want copies?
Paul will make us...
Okay, because I've got copies for you.
Okay. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of the request?
Edward Baum, 20 Sunnyside Drive, Athens, Ohio. I am co-chair of the Near East Side Neighborhood Association. I speak on behalf of the Executive Board of the Association. We realize that the 6 conditions which you look at for each property don't always fit all the properties. There's sometimes something unique about the properties. And we've looked at the property plans, we looked at the block, we've examined the considerations. And given the historic nature of that area and the desires and the plans of the McMillans, we wholeheartedly support the project.
Thank you, Mr. Baum. Is there anyone else to speak in favor?
Will Lamb, 196 East State, and I think it'll look better, so I'll add my voice in favor.
In favor. Thank you, Mr. Lamb. All right. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment? All right. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? All right. Mr. McMillan, would you like to add anything else, or your representative?
No, I just thank you for your consideration. I heard a lot of yeses, so we haven't used them all up. A little lefty.
Okay, thank you. Testimony from the floor shall be closed unless there's any other questions. No? Board will deliberate and render a decision. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look through? I do need to read one final letter. Dear Board of Zoning Appeals, as a neighbor of the McMillan family, walks near the property with my dog twice a day, I wholeheartedly support their plan to move a house back several feet to be in close proximity to the pool. Since the McMillan family moved to Athens, they have done a remarkable job restoring and enhancing their home. I have never seen a more thorough preparation, scraping, and painting the exterior of a house than the project the McMillan family took on last summer and fall. Because the McMillans have painstakingly invested enormous time and resources into the beautification of our neighborhood, I'm confident the movement of their house will also be spectacular. We are fortunate that McMillans chose to move to Athens and enhance the livability of our neighborhood. Warmly, Susan Mitchell. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to look at the packet? Okay, let's go through the findings. Practical difficulty and undue hardship.
We need to make a motion.
I'm sorry, we need to make a motion. Who would like to make a
I move
motion?
that we request a variance in case 10-03V. Appellant is requesting a variance from section 23.10 Table A Schedule of Bulk Controls to allow relocation of a house on a lot with a rear setback of 0 feet where 30 feet is the required minimum, and a side setback of 2 feet where 5.5 feet is the required minimum.
I second.
Now we'll look through the findings. Practical difficulty and undue hardship.
Well, the garage already sits on the back property line. So to move the house back next to the garage, you're not going to meet the variance, but he's bordered by lovely brick streets all the way around the property.
Is that relevant?
Is that relevant?
Huh?
The brick streets?
Yeah.
Obviously so in our town. I think so. In your
creates-
neighborhood?
That creates a hardship?
No.
Isn't that what
The hardship is that the garage sits on the back of the property line.
Already.
And that's where the house is going to butt up against too.
All right.
Well, I would think one of the hardships would be the closeness of the two properties.
They're about as close as most houses in the area.
From the pictures, I guess I've looked at it. The pictures make it look closer.
So you just need to look at all the rest of the pictures. Houses are pretty close together, they're not so narrow. It is pretty close. I'm not denying
I would
that.
say if that addition hadn't been added, it would be like most of the other
Right,
houses
but with
in the
that
area.
addition, it's,
Too close.
a 250-pounder might not get through. Unless it's an illusionary photograph he took.
So there's some minimal hardship.
Yes.
And some minimal exceptional circumstances.
Yes, I'll say that.
So let's go to number 3.
All right.
Preservation of equal property rights.
I don't think the other people in the neighborhood would like to maybe move their houses in the back, but so this is, we are not depriving anybody else from this right. I don't think anybody else would, but
Well, it's not the matter of moving the house, it's
Yeah.
whether you have no setback.
And it seems to me there's no setback anywhere. I mean, the property, everything is on a zero line, including the, well,
The garage certainly is, yeah, it's already on the zero line.
and, anything else? Minimum variance?
The difficulty, one difficulty, or maybe the only difficulty I see here is if they're allowed to move that house back and it still is a primary structure on that property, if something would happen to the house next door and it had to be rebuilt, say it would burn down, there's in the code, it's says that in terms of placing a house on a piece of property, you can meet the adjoining properties.
They would still have a house on the other side to go by.
So you think that would not be an issue then?
No, Mr. Eschenbacher could.
And they'd still have, if it was that situation, you'd still have the foundation from the original house.
Right.
Or that person, if they wish, they could rebuild it farther back as well.
Right. Okay, so that's the only thing that's kind of touchy.
But they could do that anyways, even if both houses were up, if they wish to build farther back.
All right, you can build back, but not
They-
But
forward.
not up, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You can build back?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Provided they still had a rear yard and everything.
Right,
you know.
correct.
Well, and it's got a pool.
No, next door.
Pool goes over here.
Oh, pool goes
This
over
goes
there.
to that.
Right. All right, if that's a yard. All righty. Absence of detriment.
Only during the move, I think it's going to be a great attraction for the town. Little kids will have a fun day there.
Too bad Mike Mulligan won't be in the basement, huh? Maybe. All right. Not of a general nature.
Absolutely not.
No more commentary there, correct? Okay. I think 5 regular members will be voting. Okay. So why don't we start with Mr. Golsey?
Okay, as Mr. Baum said,
Sorry.
Oh, okay. As Mr. Baum said, actually, it may not meet all the criteria of the 6 criteria, but he has a passion, and if I was him, if I owned the property, I would want to do the same thing, so I would vote yes.
Okay. Mr. Lavelle?
Go for it, yes.
Ms. Kronansky?
Vote yes.
Ms. Hollow?
Well, given the fact that we can't really find for the findings, and because you already have the variance, I can vote no.
And I will vote yes.
Thanks for remembering the last.
We can have all of
Recycles and authorized recycling paper here.
Yeah, we do.
A lot of recycling here.
Vote on the minutes.
Right.
Have we all read the minutes? Says aye.
I have read the minutes. We
All in
okay?
favor?
You can vote.
Aye.
Because you vote yes.
Aye.
I read the minutes. They looked accurate. The spelling was nice.
I think everybody said yes. Meeting adjourned.
No, I have a question about this.
Oh, a question about the minutes. All right, meeting is not adjourned.
Yellow highlights. I believe it would be on, if you press this out, so I think it would be on page 3. 1, 2, 3, fourth comment down that begins, Mr. Bucknott said the apartment at 190 and 194 East State Street was rented. I believe he just said the apartment at 190 was rented.
Okay.
And of course, all the other things that were, whatever they were
So
saying.
are you
but-
okay? Is everything okay?
Yes, that was my comment I wanted to make.
So we are okay with the minutes now?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Well,
Michelle, can I have the
yes, you may.
practice on it?
And meeting adjourned at 8:39.